Welcome to another live CSEC class. Tonight we're going to be doing rounding off, and it's a pretty simple and straightforward topic, but it's one that you should not take for granted, because in the paper one, the multiple choice question paper, you are likely to be asked to do some rounding off. And since you want to get straight A profile, that is our objective. That's what we're aiming for always. Straight A profile. That means you don't want to get even one wrong. So you want to make sure you cover your bases, the advanced stuff as well as the simple stuff. So this is one of the simple stuff, but we are not going to take it for granted. We are going to ensure that we know exactly what to do. So we'll be doing rounding off. Before we dive into that, let me remind you of our schedule of live classes: 5 live PEP classes every week and 6 live CSEC classes every week. Here goes. Hello, math students. I know you are busy preparing for your math tests and your exams coming up. I have a very important question to ask you. And you had, thank you. Now, another important question. Have you ever gotten a math problem wrong simply because of making one little mistake? Or you have, as thousands of other students have. Now, in this series, we're going to be looking at the common mistakes that students, all the topics in CSEC. We're going to look at the common errors, mystify everything, make sure you watch everything in this series so that you can avoid making those mistakes. So stay tuned. Hello, scholars. Did you know that most times when students get problems wrong, mathematics is as a result of one single or one mistake? Well, this is absolutely true, and we're looking at the common errors that students make in the different topics in mathematics. If we know the errors beforehand, we can certainly avoid making. All right, so as usual, I'm going to invite my faithful scholars who are in studio. I'm going to invite them to join me on the screen. Welcome Imani, welcome Asar, welcome Amari.
No, Miss Amari fell asleep.
Amari fell asleep. Oh dear.
Yes,
It's my fault because the PEP class ran late. We started about half an hour late because of technical difficulties. So I suspect I had something to do with him falling asleep. I take the blame. So welcome Imani and welcome John. I'm not seeing John though, just the tip of his head. And welcome Asar. So we're doing a pretty simple topic tonight, rounding off. It simply should not be taken for granted because you will be expected to know this. You might see one or two questions on the exam paper that's asking you to round off. More than likely in the paper one, but even in the paper two, in the computation section, maybe in question one, the first part of question one, you might be asked to round something off. When you get your answer, you might be asked to round it to a certain number of places or decimal places. So you need to know what to do. I always tell my students, don't take the small stuff for granted, because oftentimes it's the small stuff that make you get this one wrong, that one wrong, and before you know it, you have lost so many marks. So we don't want to lose marks. So we're going to round off to the nearest 10, 100,000, to the nearest to one decimal place, two decimal places, three decimal places, and to the nearest whole number. So let's start with rounding off to the nearest 10. The concept of rounding off is just when we just have a nice round number, a nice, I would call it a solid number. So you want to, and sometimes this is convenient to have it without, whether you're rounding to the nearest 10, 100,000, you just want a nice round figure to deal with. Sometimes that's convenient to deal with. When you're rounding up, the place that you're rounding to, so I like to say underline that place. If you're rounding to the nearest 10, underline the digit that's in the tens place, and then look to the right of that. So in this case, look to the digit that's in the ones place. If that digit is 5 or more, then you're going to add 1 to the tens place, and everything to the right of that you're going to hold that space with a 0. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if we have this number 326, we want to round it to the nearest 10. So 2 is in the tens place, 6 is in the ones place. So this is the place we're rounding it to. So look to the number to the right. If this number is 5 or more, we're going to add 1 to that number. And this we're going to fill a space with 0. So this will become 3, add 1 to the 2, that's 3, and put a 0 to hold the space of the 6. So 326 rounded to the nearest 10 is 330. Suppose we had 415 to the nearest 10. So 1 is in the tens place. The 5, remember we said if it's 5 or more, so we have a 5. So we're going to add 1 to that. So we would have 4, 2, and we'll use a 0 to hold the place of the 5. Suppose it was 722. And we want to round it to the nearest 10. What's in the tens place? So this is ones, tens, hundreds. 2 is in the tens place. We look to the right of that, and this is a 2. It's not 5 or more than 5, it's a 2. In that case, we are not to add 1 to the tens place. We're still going to use a 0 to hold the space of the ones. So we would have in this case 720. For the first two, we say that we are rounding up since we had to add a 1 to the tens place. We are rounding up. For this one, we rounded down because the number that we ended up with was less than the original number. All right. So, all right, scholars, so I'm going to give each of you one to do for me. So we're rounding to the nearest 10 to begin with, right? Nearest 10. Let me write that. And you're going to walk me through the steps and tell me how you get it. All right. So we have 964. We have 729. We have 200, 2,275. Okay, so Asar, take the first one, 964. Walk me through it. How would you round it to the nearest 10?
900. Well, 4 is less than 5, so you change it to 0 and
Mm-hmm.
you put back the 9 and 6 in front of it, so 960.
All right, so you're saying the six is in the tens place, and you're saying since 4 is less than 0, we did not add 1 to the 6, and we still had to use a 0 to hold the place of the 4. All right, so were we rounding up or down in this case?
Down.
Okay, so we rounded down. All right, John, 729, rounded to the nearest 10.
Okay, Miss, that's 730.
Walk me through it, please, sir.
Okay, Miss. Yes, you guys look in the one space, listen if it's, and listen if the
Which
number
number is in the tens? We're rounding to the nearest 10. First, identify what is in that place.
Miss watching the 10 space is a 2.
Huh?
Miss watching the 10 space is a 2.
The 2 is in the tens place. Okay, what next?
Miss, we're going to look over into the one space, Miss, and check if the number is 5 or greater than 5, which is 2.
Mm-hmm.
So Miss, we're going to
So,
add
so the
1.
9.
Yes, Miss.
So 9
9.
is greater than 5. Okay.
Miss, we're going to add 1 to the third. Miss, we're going to add 1 to the 2, Miss, and put in the one space a 0.
All right. So since the 9 is more than 5, we add 1 to the 2. We get 3. And we still hold that space here and we write back the 7. Did we round up or down?
Let's round up.
All right. Imani, your turn.
Okay, Miss. So we the 7 is in the tens
Call,
place.
call the number for me, please.
Oh, 2,175. So in the
Okay.
number 2,175, the 7 is in the tens place. So we're
Okay.
going to look to the right of that and see if the number in the ones place is 5 or greater. And if it's 5 or greater, we're going to round up. So we're going to, since it's 5, we're going to add 1 to the 7 and put a 0 in the place of the 5 as a placeholder.
Okay. All
So
right.
it
So
would
since
be
we have a 5, we add 1 to the 7 and we hold that space with a 0 because we're rounding here and
yes, Miss.
write back these two. All right. So call the new number.
Miss, so the new number would be 2,180.
And did we round up or down?
Miss, we rounded up.
All right. So that's the 10, nearest 10. Now we need to round to the nearest 100. All right. So each of you go and get another one to do for me. So rounding to the nearest 100. So this time we're going to identify which number is in the 100 days. We're going to look to the right of that and see if the number is 5 or more. All right, so here we go. 2,176. And right. Asargo, first one.
Does that say 10 or 100? Oh, 100, okay.
To the nearest hundred. We're rounding to the nearest hundred. So call the number and then walk me through it.
So 2176. The uh the 80 is in the tens place, and it's bigger than 50. So we add
Huh?
one
Where you see
to the
80
one
and 50?
because
2176.
Piran, well, 76 is in the 10th place,
But
and
we're
it's
rounding to the nearest hundred, not
yeah,
10.
yeah,
So,
no,
so identify what's in the hundred, please.
the 176,
Which digit is in the hundred, please?
the one.
Okay, so the one. All right. Go
So I
ahead
was
now.
saying since 76 is bigger than 50,
Mm-hmm.
we add one to the 100.
Okay.
So 2200
All right. Did we round up or down?
up.
Okay. John,
Okay, miss. To the nearest hundred. Okay, miss. The number is 3,999. So, miss, we'll look into the tens place, miss, and see if the number is 5 or more, miss. And the number is a 9, miss. So, we're going to round up to it before 100.
which digit is in the hundred, please?
Miss, a 3.
All right. So you're saying the nine is more than five, so we're going to add one. So what do we have now?
Miss, 400.
400. Okay. All right, Imani.
Okay, miss. So the number I got is 71,553. And in the hundreds place, we have a 5. So we're going to look to the right. Since we're rounding in the hundreds place, we identify that there's a 5 in the hundreds place. And the number beside it is 5. And when we're rounding, if it's 5 or up, we will round up by adding 1 to the number in the place we're rounding. So it's going to be 6, and we put 2 zeros in the as the placeholders of the other two numbers behind the 5.
Mm-hmm. Want
So
me to hear?
the new number that we would have would be 71,600.
All right. All right, so we're going good. So we reached the thousand place now, to the nearest thousand. All right, Asar, you're up. Rounding to the nearest thousand.
7 is in the hundreds place,
Mm-hmm.
and so you would add one to the 0, which is
Add
the
one.
placeholder.
So we should actually, what is in the thousand, please?
0.
All right, so there's a zero here. That's in the thousand, please. All right. So you're saying the seven is more than five. So
Add one
to what?
to the 0.
So we get 1, and then what else?
and then three zeros.
So 3 placeholders here because we only want the 1,000 place. All right, excellent. John, call the number and tell me what to do.
Okay, 1,130.
No.
Oh, 430. Okay, Miss, we're going to look into the hundreds first, which is the forms, and there is no thousands place. Miss, so we're going to
Go
look
again,
into.
John.
Oh, Miss, I was saying that there's no thousands place in the
So we
number
can
four.
put a 0 to hold the 1,000 place for
Yes,
the
miss.
benefit of what we're doing. All
Okay, so
right, so
it's
this is in the 1,000 place.
okay, Miss. So it's 0,430. Okay, so Miss, we're going to look into the hundred place, Miss, and Miss a four,
Mm-hmm.
Miss. So we're going to round down this. So the number is
Mm-hmm.
going to stay the same. It's going to stay at 400. Miss, it's going to stay at 400.
Are you sure?
This is confusing.
Remember where to the place that we're rounding to. If the one to the right of it is less than 5, what do? We just hold the place with 0, right?
Yes,
So it will be actually just 0. We don't have to write 4 zeros. We don't have to write the 4 zeros. The answer is 0. Okay?
yes, Miss.
All right, Imani.
Okay, Miss. So the number I got was 21,319, and the number in the thousands place is 1, and the number to the right of it is 3. And the rule says if it is 4 or less, we're going to round down. So we don't add anything, we just fill in the spaces of the remaining numbers. Um,
Okay, so we have 3
so we're going to
zeros.
have 2,000, sorry, 21,000, yes. And the 3 zeros replace the 3 numbers.
All right. So we have rounded to the nearest. We have rounded to the nearest 10, 100, and 1,000. So now we're going to round to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places. And finally, we're going to round to the nearest whole number. All right, so that's what we have left to do. So rounding to 1 decimal place. Round to 1p. So I'm going to put DP to mean decimal place. 1 decimal place would be in the 10th place because the first unit of decimal is 10th. So we're rounding to the nearest 10th. When you're asked to round to 1 decimal place, you're rounding to the nearest 10th with a TH at the end. Okay, so let's say we have 15.0.1, 2, 3.1, 4, 7, and 6.094. Okay, Asar, take it away. Round to 1 decimal or to the nearest 10th. 1 decimal place or the nearest 10th.
15.0.
Walk me through it, Nagai. Underline
Zero. The one
which
decimal
digit is
place
in the.
is 0.
So zero is in the one decimal place or the tenth place. Okay. What's the procedure?
The
We're
one
doing
is
this. We're doing this for those who are new to this or just couldn't understand it before and they want to know the steps, right? So even if you just can read it out in your mind, you can do it automatically. Just walk me through the steps for the benefit of those who need that. So zero is in the tenth place.
the decimal right beside it is one.
Mm-hmm.
So you add one to the zero right beside it. No, sorry. You don't add one because it's less than five. So you
Okay.
just delete it basically.
All right. So we
And
just
the
have,
two as well.
but okay. So we have the 15.0, and that's our answer. All right,
Yeah, you
John.
can just put 15.
Okay, miss.
No, no, you can't just write 15. Since they say one decimal place, you have to indicate. Even if it's a zero, you have to put it, right? 15.0 because they want that one decimal place. All right, go
Okay.
ahead, John.
Okay,
John, go
miss.
ahead.
Okay, miss. 3.147. Really? Oh, okay, Miss, we're going to look into the 10th. This is the 10th place.
Which digit is in the 10th place?
Miss the one.
All right.
Miss, I'm going to, in the 100th place, Miss, to see the number, Miss, which is a 4. So, Miss, if it's 4 or less, we round down. So, Miss, it be 3.0.
3.0?
Miss,
3.0?
0. Miss, 3.0.
Why would it be 3.0?
It would
Miss,
be 3.1. Miss,
You don't
this
need
is
to change.
confusing.
You don't need to change anything because it's you don't have anything to add. So it's just 3.1, and you put zeros to fill in the place of the 4 and the 7.
Right. So the 4 is less than 5, so we're not going to add anything to the 1. But the 1 is still there.
Okay,
So it's 3.1. All right, Imani.
Okay, miss. The number I got was 6.094. Miss, so the number in the 10th place is 0,
Mm-hmm.
and the number beside it is 9, and 9 is greater than 5. So we're going to add 1 to the 0. So our new number, or the rounded number, would be 6.100
Okay, very good.
or 6.1.
All right. So now we round to two decimal places or to the nearest hundredth. Two decimal places or the nearest hundredth with the THS. So it's HUDREDS, hundredths. So that place is two places from the decimal point to the right. And that's where we're rounding. Okay, so let's say we have 0.267, 0.005, and 1.7. All right, go sir.
The number in the second decimal place is
Like
6.
call the number that you're working with first.
The number is 0.267.
All right.
And the number in the second decimal place is 6. So you look
All
to the
right.
number at the right of it, and if it's bigger than 5, then you add 1 to the number in the second decimal place.
Mm-hmm. So the
And
number to the
since
right of it is 7. So
Yeah.
what we're going
So
so what are we going to do?
we add 1 to the 6.
Okay, so what's the new number?
0.27.
Okay, all right. John, you're next.
Okay, miss, the number that I have is 0.005, and I'm supposed to run it to the nearest hundredth place, miss. So, miss, what's in the hundredth place is a zero.
Which one of the zeros?
Miss the second zero.
This one?
Yes. No, wait. No, don't miss the second zero, miss.
This is the second zero
First zero.
from the
This is
left.
confusing.
This is 1 0. This is the second zero.
Miss the first
All
zero. First.
right. All right, so this is in the hundredth place or two decimal places. All right, so what do we do next?
Missing it though. Or missing the number in the thousands. In the thousands place is five. Miss, we're going to add one to the in the hundreds place. Miss, so it'd be
Okay.
0.01.
0.1. Okay, excellent. Imani?
Okay, miss, my number is 1.796. So the number in the hundredth place is 9, and the number to the right is 6. Since
Mm-hmm.
6 is big greater than 5, we're going to add 1 to the 9, and that would give us 10. So we're going to have to add the other 1 to the 7, and that would give us 1.800.
But you still have to put the zero
Yes, miss.
because they want two decimal places. So you have to put two digits after the decimal point, right?
Yes,
So
miss.
remember, sometimes when you're dealing with the nine, if you have a nine, when you add one to that, it's going to become 10 and you have to go over to the next place. So bear that in mind, but still put the number of digits that they're asking you for that number of decimal places. Okay, so we're making good time. So now we're going to round nearest thousands. And then all we have to do after that is round to the nearest whole number. All right. So let's go. So we're rounding to the nearest thousand. So that will be three decimal places. So either they're going to say round to three decimal places or to the nearest thousandth. So thousand N D S thousandths. Three decimal places. So here we go, here we go, here we go. All right.
How many decimal? Uh, four. The number is 491.3689. The number in the thousands place is 368 is so what happened to the
Perfect place.
stream? So 491 point
First of all, tell me the digit that's in the thousand.
the 8.
Okay. All right. Go.
So it will be 491.370.
No. Remember, we're rounding here, you know. So you have to look to the one to the right of that and then see if you need to add one here or not.
Yeah. So 491.369.
How you got a 9 here? You're leaving out that
I
explanation.
added 1 to the 8 because 9 is bigger than 5.
Okay. So 491.369. All right, John, go.
Okay, miss. Round to three decimal place. There's thousands. Okay, miss. My number is
Call the number
25.
again, John. Call the number.
Yes, my number is 25.6667.
All
Okay,
right.
Miss, Miss, on a number in the thousands place, Miss is at 6.
Which one of the sixes?
Miss the first 6.
This one?
Miss the first one, Miss.
This is the
Miss
first
now,
one.
Miss now I'm confused.
This is the first one from the we read numbers from the left though.
Thousands.
Miss, that's the third one. Okay, Miss,
All right, so you mean this one.
yes, Miss. Why
All
is
right,
this?
go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Okay, Miss again to okay. So Miss, I'm going to check the number in the 10,000 place, Miss, and that's a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Miss, which is greater than 5. So Miss, I'm going to add 1 to the 6, Miss, and the new number becomes 20, 25.6670.
Okay. No, we don't need the zero. Three
Okay.
decimal places.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Imani.
Okay, miss. So my number is 0.5142. And the number in the thousands place for me is 4 since we count the numbers from the decimal point. We're going backwards, so it's in the thousand place. And the number to the right is less than 4, and the rule says when it's less than 4, we
Less than five.
sorry, less than 5, we round down, so we don't have to add or subtract anything. We're just going to put a
Okay.
placeholder for the all the numbers behind the 4, which is just one number. So our new
No,
number,
for decimals, once you reach the decimal place, you don't have to put any placeholder.
yeah, we don't have to put a placeholder for this one.
Right. You do it for whole numbers though.
Yes, miss. So it's 0.514.
Okay. 0.514. Okay. All right. So now just one more little activity to do. So we're rounding to the nearest whole number. What I mean by round to the nearest whole number though? What I mean by that? Which place would we be thinking about rounding to the nearest whole number?
Miss the ones since
The
um
ones place, right?
it,
Yeah. So when they ask us to round to the nearest whole number, they must round to the ones place. So it can be written as to the nearest whole number or that means the ones place. Okay, so let me give each of you something and then all the way I go to bed. All the way I go to bed after that. So let's say we have 65.231 0.9 4 22.7. All right, Asar, you go.
The the number that's closest to the 5, I guess, is 2.
Which digit is in the ones place?
The,
Identify that
the
first.
5 5 is in ones place.
Okay, so we're rounding
Also,
to
the
this.
number is 65.231.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the digit after the decimal is 2, and that's less than 5, so we're just gonna erase everything after that and not trouble
Mm-hmm.
anything else. So we
All
just
right,
write
so
it
what do we have? Right, what back?
6, 65.65,
No, not point. Not
65.
no point. Nearest whole number they don't want any decimal. Okay, just a whole number they want. So that's why we're rounding to the one space. So we ignore all the decimals, right? So it's just 65. All right, John.
Okay, miss. There's whole number one, please. Oh, okay. Zero. My number is 0.94. Okay, miss, I go into the fence, into the
What
fence.
is in the ones place?
Oh, miss, a zero.
Mm-hmm.
When miss, I go into the fence,
Mm-hmm.
and miss, there's a nine, miss.
Mm-hmm.
So miss, I round it up, miss, because it's greater than five. So miss, it'll be 1.00.
Not one point anything, John.
This be
The
one.
nearest whole number. We don't want any decimal. So it's just one. We just add a one to the zero and all we have one. Okay?
Okay, miss.
Good morning.
Okay, miss. So my number is 22.71, and the number in the whole or the ones place is 2. The 2 right in front or to the left of the decimal point.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to look at the number behind the decimal point to see
Mm-hmm.
if it's bigger than 5. So it's 7, and 7 is obviously greater than 5. So we're going to round up by adding 1 to the 2. So it will give us 23.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna give each of you another go at it. Because there were some glitches. You got your answers right, but just remember we don't want any decimal. We don't want any decimal. We just round into the nearest whole number. So let me give each of you again another set. So to the nearest whole number or the nearest ones place. All right, so each of you go and go again. All right, go Asar.
The number in the tens place is 1. The
Wait,
number
call the number that you're Asar.
0.
Asar, you're taking you're taking things for granted. You're assuming that we're all at your level, you know. Remember, some persons watching the video, they are at the really basic level and they want to know the steps to come up, right? So call the number, identify which digit is in the whole number place, and tell me step by step what you're doing.
The number is 0.174.
Okay.
The number right next to the 0, which is
Now, which
1, is
number
in the
is in
tens
the
place.
whole number place that we're
Yeah, I was
rounding?
gonna.
Which digit
So
is in the whole number?
the whole number is 0.
Okay.
So we want to get rid of the numbers after the decimal point.
Mm-hmm.
To do that, we look if the number in the tens place is lower than 5,
Mm-hmm.
and if it is, then we get rid of the other numbers behind the decimal point
Mm-hmm.
and do nothing to the 0.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer would be 0.
Correct. All right, so that's 0. And by the way, 0 is a whole number for those who don't know that. The first whole number is 0. All right, John, you're next.
Okay, miss. So,
Wait, come on. Oh, there.
miss, can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
okay, miss. So my number is 30.256. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so miss, the number in the ones place, miss, is a 0. And
Mm-hmm.
miss, I would go over into the tens place and the number the 2, which is less than 4, miss. So, miss, I'd round.
Less than 5.
Yes, miss, less than 5, miss. Miss, I wouldn't add anything, miss. You just make 30.
Correct. All right, Imani, your turn.
Okay, miss. So the number in the whole number spot for me, or the
Call
ones
your
that
number first.
0.99 is the number that I got, and
Okay.
the digit in the whole number or ones place is 0. So we're going to go to the
Mm-hmm.
right of the 0, which is
Mm-hmm.
9. And 9 is greater than 5, so we're going to add 1 to the 0, and the
Mm-hmm.
number that we would get would be 1.
Correct. All right. All right. So we did good. We did good. We did good. And remember, I tell you, as simple as these things are, don't you dare take them for granted. Don't you dare take them for granted. Okay? The simple things are sometimes what trip people up because them say, oh, that's easy. I don't even have to revise that. I mean, I know that. But then when it comes down to the nitty gritty, they realize that it's been so long since they did these basic things, they really have forgotten what to do. Some simple little steps. So, my advice to you, don't take any of these simple things for granted. You want to get a straight A profile. That means you don't want to get anything wrong. And sometimes it's the little simple things that people get wrong because they're focusing on, I need to know the matrices, I need to know the trig, I need to know the geometry and so on. Yes, you need to know them, but you also need to know the basic, the fundamental things. Don't take them for granted. So remember the rules for rounding off. The next time we do the topic by topic class, we're going to do standard form, and the next class after that, we're going to do significant figures. And these are topics that they are pretty simple and people take them for granted, but we're not going to fall into that trap. All right, we want to cover all of our bases. All right, so Amari is not here to tell us our philosophical statement. Are you going to say it for us, John?
Huh. I can remember we're not just solving math problems, we're changing lives.
Thank you. All right, so thank you, my devoted scholars in studio crew, and
Thank you.
thank you to those who joined us on the live in the chat, some from YouTube, some from Twitter, some from Facebook, and other places. Wherever in the universe you are, we so appreciate your company. We appreciate your comments, your questions. Don't hesitate to post them. So I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to get some sleep. All right, scholars, take care. Good night's rest.
No,
Night.
Like, there's nowhere, no. Not miss.
Good night. Oh boy. Hello, CSEC math students. I know you are busy preparing for your math tests and your CSEC exams coming up. I have a very important question to ask you. Do you like my new hat? Thank you. Now, another important question. Have you ever gotten a math problem simply because of making one little mistake? I'm sure you have, as thousands of other students have. Now, in this series, we're going to be looking at the common mistakes that students make with all the topics. In CSEC Math, we're going to look at the common errors, demystify everything, make sure you watch every video in this series so that you can avoid making those mistakes. So stay tuned. Hello, scholars. Did you know that most times when students get problems wrong in mathematics as a result of one single error or one mistake? Well, this is absolutely true, and we're going to be looking at the common errors students make in the different topics in mathematics. If we know the errors beforehand, we can certainly avoid making them. Are you ready? Come on, take my hand.